Are you guys all aware of the shooting of the United
Yes.
Healthcare CEO?
Yes.
You know a lot about it, or enough about it?
I know a decent
I don't know about
amount
this.
Shed a little
about
light.
it. So United Healthcare was having their annual shareholders meeting, and the CEO landed in New York at 7 a.m. for the 8 a.m. meeting. And as he was walking into the building, a young man pulled up, had a gun, shot the CEO 3 times, and took off on an e-bike. And they're looking for the guy. As far as I know from earlier today, they're still looking for him. They haven't been able to find him. And basically, it's an assassination. The bullets were engraved with denied, with two words that are synonymous with healthcare insurance and like denying coverage or something like that.
It's a book title.
Yeah, it was
It's 3 words. It's a book title.
Okay, yeah. So, and it was essentially a protest. I'm not, from what I understand, I'm not sure if we have more about why he did it, but I mean, it's the healthcare industry is not in the business of keeping people healthy. The healthcare industry is in the business of making money, and this is essentially a protest.
Did the CEO die?
Yeah.
He's dead.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The words were delay, deny, and possibly, because kind of hard to tell, depose.
Yeah.
Appeared on the casings of the bullets recovered from the scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Those were on the casings?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's like a movie. That's like a
well, and I
very
think
poetic.
it's really really taking a stand, I think, of the state of healthcare in America and how terrible we are to our American citizens. You know, we keep people sick on purpose. And that goes down to what they feed us, what they allow us to buy in grocery stores, what's available to us, you know? Well, yeah.
That doesn't justify murder, though.
Never. Never.
No, I mean, it doesn't, but
I'm with you.
Right.
I think this guy stands for bullshit.
Right. You in order to protest and make change, you know, there has to be a statement. And unfortunately, this statement, and believe me, like, I feel for his wife and I feel for his 2 kids, absolutely. But I also feel for the billions of people who are essentially murdered by the healthcare industry. People who are denied healthcare that their doctor is saying is medically necessary, but the healthcare insurance deems it unnecessary, and people are literally dying because of this. So,
but there's a peaceful
and
way.
this is a billions dollar industry. Like, these people are not doing this for free. And the CEO is making way too much money.
There's definitely a peaceful way to protest, though, without murdering somebody. And I think you actually lose strength in your argument by doing something that, I don't even know what the word is, that sinister, that egregious. I agree with you, though. The healthcare system is extremely flawed. Doctors are not, they're not like educated or trained to treat root causes. They treat symptoms. And so it's all a money. It's all a money grab, right? And people are getting filthy rich off of it, but murdering them, that's not the answer either. Like,
no,
you know,
but here's the real shitty thing about it is that this is corporate America. United Healthcare already has this job up on Indeed.
Yeah, they'll have a new CEO.
They started that meeting at 8 a.m. as if nothing happened.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit that this guy died, which is as shitty as it is. But I mean, I think that's, going back to the conversation of work sucks and you're really just doing it to pay the bills, right? That was really one of the bigger things that therapy taught me was that, you go to work. To pay your bills. You're not going to work to fill your cup. You're not going to work to, find what's really important to you. Work isn't one of them. Then, work just to work. I don't give a shit.
I think of I think of that. What is it? John Q. Right? Denzel.
Yeah.
I think of that comes to mind for me when I think of the extreme. Some people will go, I don't know, because we haven't obviously caught the person who did this. But I don't know the situation, was this kid denied heart surgery? You know what I mean? Who knows?
Or maybe his
John Q never
parent-
killed anybody.
That was I was going to ask you, did John Q kill anybody?
He didn't kill anyone.
No, he didn't kill nobody, right?
No.
But I mean, it seemed like,
Maybe he lost a parent, a loved one,
I would kill to save my kid's life,
Right.
if that's the situation.
Right.
I don't know if that's the situation, but I will rightfully do my time for that because that is wrong. But, and for the record, I did say I don't, work sucks, but not to that extent.
No, not at all.
I still enjoy the people I work with. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just not, I just don't love it.
It's not your passion.
I just don't love it. That's all.
I don't wake up every day and be like, I'm so happy to open my laptop.
Yes, for sure. But anyway, when it comes to something like this, it must be a really, shitty situation this guy must be in order for him to go to this extent. I would imagine.
Is he still on the run?
He's still on the run. They believe he already fled.
It's such bullshit though. Like, he's on an e-bike. You know how easily those things are traceable?
Well,
Are they? Well,
Yeah.
what is it like?
He went
Yeah, that's a
through-
wild getaway car.
right.
Yeah, he got on
Well,
an e-bike
and-
through Central Park. You know how easy it is to catch him?
New York, there's millions of people in this much land. So I mean, you can easily slip through, across to Canada or wherever.
That's the killer right there.
Right now,
That's a pretty dude. That's a pretty killer.
They're
Right.
spreading this picture or lady. It's hard to tell.
Oh, yeah, Trump's America.
It's hard
No,
to.
there's another photo, and you can tell. It honestly looks like Timothy Chalamet.
Timothy, we're
He
coming.
looks
for
healthy
you.
to me.
Coming for you, Dune.
Yeah, I don't think that no matter what the CEO, I mean you don't.
I mean,
make
but
murder okay.
looking healthy, that doesn't. Just because you look healthy doesn't mean that you don't have a disability.
Or maybe it's for
True.
somebody. Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So.
No, I don't know. I mean, was this CEO probably a piece of shit? Probably. He was probably a shitty guy.
Right.
Probably wasn't the best human being. But
Well,
at the end of the day, he has kids. He has a wife.
And it's
And
hard
somebody
to
shot
it's
him?
hard to just sum up someone like that though, because people, there's always an origin story of someone who just wanted to work their way up, and you got to make decisions at some point that people don't always agree with in order to get to the position you're at. You got to play the game, and maybe you come off as the villain in someone's story, but that doesn't necessarily make you the villain, in real life. So to act out an execution or something that he probably didn't even physically even touch. I mean,
Right.
It seems like a movie. Like we live.
that's
in
what I was
fucking
saying. It's a
Right.
movie.
balls in it.
It's,
We live in the
it's a
Matrix
really
right now.
shitty thing.
It's a statement. It's not like, I don't think that this guy had a personal vendetta against the CEO. I don't think that this guy thought that the CEO was the person that was like, deny. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's a statement of like, fuck this. Like, you guys, this is not the answer, And I think that it's been a topic for a very long time about the healthcare system and what we're going to.
Establishments
Yeah.
as a whole in this country have been,
Right.
there's been a message been put out by the masses that we want change. And some people kind of do
Right.
whatever. They take it in their own hands, and, they tried to do that
Right.
to Trump.
You would think that people would be optimistic right now about the healthcare system
Are you
because
ready
of
to
RFK. And what he
Oh,
said
yeah.
that Trump's basically given him the green light to gut the healthcare system and make sure that we are, taking a more holistic approach to health and wellness, trying to address the root causes of people's ailments, not just give them medication for symptoms. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to take. I imagine a long time, but that seems to be promising. If he gets any traction, if he makes any improvements, it's better than where we're at.
Right.
So that comes out not too long ago, and then you have this, and it's like, that kind of sucks.
It must be a personal situation.
Right.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, again, because a lot of these things are allowed because government officials allow them, like lobbyists, come and say, hey, we want to put X, Y, and Z out. Canada doesn't allow all of these things in their food. I'm sure everybody has seen the difference between Canadian Fruit Loops versus American Fruit Loops, right? American Fruit Loops, you've seen them. They're super colorful, every color, whatever. The Canadian Fruit Loops are like a more muted color.
Because they put on out the dyes that we use.
It's
Red
yeah,
dye 40
exactly.
and blue, whatever, yellow.
Right. And I mean, they say that's like a huge issue with American obesity in our diets and whatever. So
Speaking of Canada, what was that picture that Trump posted with him on top of a mountain
oh my god,
looking over Canada?
I didn't say
Yeah.
it.
Is there something going on with Canada? I'm not too up on
yeah.
it.
So
This is the dinner party?
yeah, so
Oh, yeah.
Justin Trudeau came from Canada down
Right.
to Mar-a-Lago because Trump cannot enter Canada because Canada does not allow felons
Okay.
to enter their country. So even if you get a DUI, you're not allowed to go to Canada. Anywho,
Those aren't felonies, though. You just still
that's
can't do it?
it's a Canada thing.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know. They're very strict on whatever. That's beside the point. So Justin Trudeau went down to Mar-a-Lago and had a meeting with Trump about these tariffs that Trump is trying to put on Canada.
Okay.
Because for border control, because Canada, there's fentanyl coming in from Canada. Anywho, during that meeting, Trump said something about Canada becoming America's 51st state.
Yeah, I'll show the actual video, but
Yeah.
to summarize it,
Fucking Trump. That's
Trudeau said those tariffs that you're about to impose are going to kill our economy. And Trump's response was, if our tariffs are going to kill Canada's economy, well, then you might as well become America's 51st state if you think you need to continue to take advantage of the U.S. in order to sustain your economy. And
Why is there all these memes going around that we're going to war? Did Trump
With
say
Canada?
something? No, not about to can. So there's somebody that I work with, and he's a reserve in the Navy,
yeah,
and he said that he got orders to go back into training because there's going to be a war in 2027. This could be completely. I didn't look this up.
If you're a reservist, you have to do training every so often anyways.
Right, and he's been doing it for 20 years. He's never said that he got like orders from his superiors that they're planning to go to war in 2027. Does anybody hear anything like that?
No.
No?
I don't know.
Okay.
But it wouldn't surprise me if we go to war soon.
Well, because then we see all
We're
these
always
memes.
at war.
Like
We're
there's all
just
these
not
memes
here.
about Trump. You see that meme of Trump? What is it? The Peaky Blinders meme. It says
No.
Trump, January 2025, and it's that clip where I don't know who the main character in Peaky Blinders is. Thomas
know.
Shelby. Thomas Shelby's telling everybody no fighting. He's like, no effing fighting. He's like, you no fighting, you no fighting, and they're all like hands up, like no fight.
different countries.
Yeah, and when he points them, it's different countries, but then the waiter walks in and bumps Thomas Shelby, and he shoves them, and they all throw stuff at him.
Let me play this video and let me see if it has the official quote on there. for you
Tariffs
guys.
that have the potential to cripple Canada's economy. President-elect Donald Trump sat down for dinner with the Prime Minister at his Florida resort. A hastily arranged visit both sides say was a success.
It was a very warm, cordial meeting, and I saw very much the mutual respect and warmth between the two leaders.
Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc was part of the small Canadian delegation that dined at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's sprawling estate on Palm Beach. While Trump has called Trudeau weak, dishonest, and a far-left lunatic in the past, there was none of that sort of talk Friday night, LeBlanc says.
He walked us to the cars, to the front door of Mar-a-Lago. He said to the Prime Minister, keep in touch, call me anytime, talk soon.
Trudeau promised Trump more money for better resources at the border to stem the flow of migrants and drugs into the U.S., something that was well received by Trump, who called the meeting very productive on social media. Trudeau left Florida with a smile.
It was an excellent conversation.
One of the things that is fairly unique about President Trump is how much he values personal relationships.
This former Trump official says Trudeau's visit was a diplomatic coup. It could help Canada avoid the worst of Trump's protectionist policies, he says.
And I think the willingness of the Prime Minister Trudeau to fly down to Mar-a-Lago and meet with him personally is a very significant move, and one that I think was appreciated.
This is the consequence of having a weak prime minister who's lost control.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre disagrees and panned the visit, saying it accomplished nothing. Trump's threat of a 25% tariff on Canadian goods still stands.
Normally, when a prime minister goes to the United States to meet a president, they're looking to make gains. What gains did we hear from Mr. Trudeau? None. He's just trying to limit losses.
Poilievre is demanding Canada do even more to stay in Trump's good graces, like deploying provincial police to patrol the border and getting much tougher on illegal fentanyl production. That last point is key. Sources tell us Trump raised fentanyl with Trudeau at their dinner, telling him it's a top priority for his incoming administration. Trump is planning a major crackdown on the deadly drug as soon as he takes office.
And JP Poilievre also floated a new immigration policy.
Yeah, Poilievre says there should be a hard cap on the number of asylum seekers and refugees in this country. He wants to tighten the visa system to reduce the flow of refugees coming here to file a claim. This comes as Canada is expecting a record number of these newcomers to settle here this year. Trump himself wants a hard limit in the U.S. Ian?
JP Tasker in Ottawa.
That guy sounds like a fucking robot.
Which one?
The white guy on the right. He
Right?
sounds like a fucking robot.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, it's, yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
Kind of
That wasn't
anything he said.
That wasn't a particular clip that I saw passed around online. There was one that was a lot funnier, delivered funnier.
Yeah.
But you guys got
left lunatic.
well. Trudeau has that label by a bunch of people. In general, just the amount of restrictions Canada has just on their freedom of speech, all kinds of stuff that Canada has like issues with right now. But this whole meeting kind of was the meme, I guess, for what took place. And the fact that Trudeau's worried about the tariffs and Trump basically, if you need to keep taking advantage of us in order to sustain your economy, then you might as well become part of the U.S. And that's essentially the statement.
Did you know there were 25% tariffs? I knew there was tariffs he was trying to impose.
I don't think, yeah.
Not 25. I didn't know they were that high.
Yeah, I think some are going to be higher.
That is I would imagine that's pretty crippling for a country.
Well, the thing is, there's ways. The questions that are being put out there are like, how do people avoid a tariff? And there's a for Canada and Mexico, there's certain things that Trump is asking from them to contribute to the U.S. in order to avoid these stiff taxes. What do you call it? Illegal entry into the U.S. and assisting the U.S. in preventing that. Mm-hmm. That's one way for sure, like for Mexico. And I think that's one of the hot topics for them. With their new president, they've spoken and they discussed the amount of caravans that cross through Mexico, and Trump's asking their president to help disperse those caravans before they even make it over to our side. And the Mexican president, they've already started doing that to a bunch of different caravans already. So a lot of these announcements on the tariffs were more so like a heads up in order for them to correct what they need to do in order for Trump not to impose that stiff.
Doesn't that all benefit the United States?
It does. It's just,
he's not necessarily imposing the tariffs if you're willing to play ball.
Yeah.
It does benefit the United States, but it affects the consumer, the everyday consumer, because it's essentially going to make products harder to get and more expensive to get. And that's for things such as like electronics, household appliances, computers, cell phones, laptops, things like that. Those are going to be the things that like are going to go up in cost. Vehicles,
Potentially.
right? Unless it's like American vehicles, but American vehicles are already more expensive than.
Well, part of the tariff thing, especially in particular with China, for them, how do I avoid a tariff? In order for them to avoid a tariff, you actually need to have one manufacturer or factory, quote unquote, on U.S. domestic soil. So for Toyota, for example, a Japanese car manufacturer, as long as they have one factory here, which they do in Tennessee, where they make all their pickups, they can avoid their pickup car tax, and they can avoid. So that's just one example. And the whole point of this whole tariff thing was, at one point there was so many factories, self-made things in the U.S., and we decided to ship all those things overseas and to bring back jobs and bring back competitive pricing, I guess.
Right.
They want these companies who just ship out their labor to keep them honest, and if they want to pay a stiff tax, they're going to pay the stiff tax for avoiding having U.S. jobs here. But if you want to avoid that tax,
I thought
bring back one factory
I
on domestic
thought we were
soil.
trying to create more
You go to Pennsylvania,
American
you go to
manufacturing.
Wisconsin, you go to Michigan.
Yeah.
A bunch of empty factories that used to be here at one point, and they're all in Mexico and Canada.
Right. But I mean, that's also partly you can blame on the companies, the corporations, the CEOs, whatever, that made the decisions to outsource the labor
100%.
to India, to China, to Indonesia, to all those. They're exploiting those people, so that we can get cheaper,
these
faster
tariffs,
goods. So I think that there's also going to be a kind of like there has to also be an understanding on the consumer side of like, yeah, these things are more expensive, but now you can have a job. Like there's opportunities for you, but that also means that instead of being able to call anybody at 3 a.m. because you just decided that you want to call your car insurance, you're might not be able to talk to somebody because they're not going to be answering the phone on the other side of the country, on the other side of the world, right?
That's a possibility for sure. I mean,
think of that. Like all of those phone calls that you make and you never talk to anybody in the U.S. ever.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like, well, why? Because those people are a lot cheaper, but why can't Americans do those jobs?
Right. Well, to speak to the price hike, the whole point is for them not to have to pay those tariffs. The point is, if you want to continue to have that labor overseas, you will pay this.
Or you will do this. Or
So in order to avoid these price hikes, you need to start bringing back work here, which is the plan. And we'll see how it works, There's one side that thinks shit's about to get hella expensive, and the other side that thinks nothing's changed when Trump was in office. Why would anything change now? So we're going to find out in real time what's actually going to happen.
I can't see it getting really expensive.
I mean, everything's already really expensive.
It can be.
It already got expensive.
Right.
So
it got expensive without doing that stuff.
Right. I mean, to me, we've seen that it can get expensive. So why it's stopping it from getting expensive again? You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's my point of view.
Yeah.
So
I lean towards the side of he's already been in office and that didn't happen. So I can't imagine that would be the case now. But I don't know. I also wasn't.
Yeah, we're talking about getting more expensive than it is right now. We're not talking about natural occurring inflation. That's always going to be there.
Exactly.
That will never go away. It'll be more in 10 years,
right.
No matter who the president is. Because in 10 years, inflation, everything goes up.
Right.
Unless we have some major disaster.
Until our
reset.
economy
like a natural
collapses.
disaster.
Right.
Or the housing market crashes
Well,
or
like
something.
in 1920 when the market crashed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And history repeats itself. I don't know if there's any. I had this history teacher in high school who really imprinted. He was a character, Mr. Chappell. Shout out. Hot diggity dog.
Mr. Chappell.
Yeah.
Diggity dog.
No, and so every day our history class would start with one student yelling, "Hot diggity dog, another day of world history. What could be better than history?" And the whole rest of the class would respond, "Nothing." And if you didn't do it loud enough, you had to redo it. So like literally the whole school could hear this at the
That's
beginning
a way
of
to start your class.
every period, right? Yeah. And Mr. Chappell, I will never forget teaching us about Napoleon, the French Revolution, Napoleon invading Russia. History repeats itself.
Dynamite.
Forever, right? So Napoleon tried to invade Russia. Dead.
Right.
And then Hitler tried to invade Russia. Bad. So.
Well, isn't there like a theory that he didn't die? Like he went to like another country?
I mean, there's
Argentina,
all
something like
kinds
that?
of there's theories everywhere. They're
it.
still getting concentration camp soldiers and putting them up on trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, those fuckers are like 100 and something years old and they don't care. They'll still put them up on trial.
There's still some first generation and then a lot of second generation descendants of Nazis that live in Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I mean, they're everywhere. They went everywhere.
You got people in Argentina with like blonde hair, blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And they speak
well
like fluent Spanish. It's
right.
wild.
Yeah. There's a lot of migration of European countries to Latino countries.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of Polish people that went to Mexico, and that's why Mexican like banda music is kind of similar to polka.
Folk music.
Yeah, with the accordion. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, shout out. I thought I was going to say it. Yeah.
Shout out.
I mean, China. And
shout out to everybody. Yeah. Everybody deserves it. They're not all bad.
Do your best Trump impersonation.
I can't.
Because you have to incorporate the hands too.
I know I have to like go like this.
Yeah.
And little hands. I can't do it.
Can you do the dance?